Welcome to State of Reform's virtual leadership series with some of healthcare's most thoughtful leaders. And now, the host of State of Reform.
Welcome. My name is Jennifer Colomonico. I'm the Director of Thought Leadership for Health Management Associates, and I'm happy to be here facilitating a conversation today on behalf of State of Reform and the Leadership Series. I am joined today by Bert Bruce with Pfizer. Bert is the U.S. President of Rare Disease at Pfizer, and he's responsible for the commercialization of a portfolio of medicines for rare cardiology, hemophilia, sickle cell disease, endocrine and metabolic disorders. Bert has a long career in biosciences, biopharma, bringing innovative therapies to market and navigating all of the tricky environment that goes along with bringing these therapies to market. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. So Bert, thank you for being here. Welcome. And let's just get started with a real basic question. What is gene therapy?
Yeah, Jennifer, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and looking forward to chatting a little bit about this. And it is, I like the way you described it. It is exciting. It is kind of cool, and it is sometimes kind of complicated. So I'll try to explain it in a way that I tend to explain it, and I think my medical colleagues would agree with me. So what gene therapy is really a new generation of treatment. And what we do is a target functioning gene. So we take a functioning gene and deliver it to a specific tissue in the body to replace either a missing or a non-functioning gene. And by doing that, produce a functioning protein. So in doing that, the goal is really to try to address what you might call the root cause of a genetic disease at the cellular level to try to stop or even just slow the progression of the disease. And so that's kind of exciting, because if the promise and the reason why people have been talking about gene therapy for such a long time is the ability to utilize the body and to be able to use these treatments to be able to deliver, a potentially one-time therapeutic benefit or one-time administration that delivers a long-time therapeutic benefit. Obviously, you could see immediately how that could reduce the burden of disease management, but also may have the ability to reduce long-term health costs. But the promise has really been focused initially on patients living with rare genetic diseases, because a vast majority of rare diseases have a genetic causation to them. Only about 5% have any kind of therapeutic option that's available for them. So that's one reason why you hear this aspect of gene therapy sometimes affiliated with rare diseases, because if you can direct something, let's say at the liver, then other diseases that also would benefit by sending something into the liver could be benefited. So it allows you the ability to perhaps be able to develop medicines more quickly.
You mentioned that these are potentially one-time treatment. So is this, you get this gene replaced and then, monitor, or are there versions of this that require ongoing treatment?
Yeah, now there are different answers to that question. One consistent answer is that the way that we're being studied right now is that it would be one-time administration, right? And so that makes it very unlike traditional medicines or therapies that require frequent administration. And so we work in the areas, I'll use a couple of the examples of areas that we're working in, like hemophilia and Duchenne muscular dystrophy, that could translate to an improved quality of life for the patients and their families, because you're reducing the reliance on frequent treatments that are part of the disease management for a long period of time.
So talk about your role and in this heading up this division. Am I saying that right? This division of Pfizer. What is the mission and vision? It seems like you could envision really amazing things with this portfolio. So where is Pfizer headed with this?
So many different aspects, as you can imagine: the science, the modeling, the delivery systems, what it was going to take to be able to deliver this to patients, how patients would be able to navigate the healthcare system to understand where can they find it, what would that mean, am I eligible? Here at Pfizer, we have only one mission or one purpose, and that is to deliver breakthroughs that change patients' lives. And the gene therapy portfolio, we really believe fits well within that ethos. We are obviously at the forefront of some major innovations in healthcare. Many people know the name of our company, given what we've all been through globally over the last several years. And our commitment to investigating these gene therapies as the breakthroughs they are allows us to be able to better understand its potential. One of the key areas that we have to invest in, and this might not be a surprise given what we've been through, is the importance of manufacturing support. So that if, and we hope certainly when, our medicines are approved, that we're in position to be able to rapidly provide those to every appropriate patient wherever they are. And we're looking at very specialized gene therapies with very custom-made vectors, or think about delivery mechanisms that are modeled after what's called the recombinant adeno-associated virus, or maybe it's like a lowercase r and a capital AAV if you see it written down. And that's really designed to be able to deliver the treatment very effectively and very specifically to the targeted tissues.
It kind of transitions into that. You mentioned the cost. We mentioned some of these other issues, right? We know that's always going to be a concern. And so, what are these access issues and how are you anticipating those?
There are not models that are designed to accommodate, like, what's the payment plan for something you're going to do once for the rest of your life? And so we are working with all stakeholders to be able to ensure that there's the ability for them to have access to the medicine. It's much easier to get our heads around the transformative value and the value that we expect to see over time and the reduction of those costs over time. But the models that we have here in the US are largely a pay per prescription model. And so we have to partner together to understand what are new models that allow us to be able to provide access to these medicines because of the cost, of the volatility. States need to balance their budget every single year. And the benefit is better known over time. And so how we work through the patient populations, the size, who are appropriate patients to be on that therapy, allow us really to be able to develop this in partnership. And so our goal and our vision is that as these medicines come to market, that there's an aligned vision with those who would be delivering it, that would be us as the manufacturer, and those who would be reimbursing for it, so that appropriate patients have access to the medicine as quickly as possible. And we've been able to work as we understand the medicine to develop pathways to ensure that they have access collectively.
So if I'm a state Medicaid director or somebody who's in charge of, running the numbers, where do I start? What do I need to do now to kind of prepare for this? How long do I have, and what do I need to do to be a good partner in making sure people have access to this?
If you're that specific person in charge of the dollars and cents, what we'd love to be able to do is actually speak with you to understand very specifically in your state, what is that going to look like? Now, as I say that, there are many cases where there's COEs or centers of excellence within gene therapy. And so patients may be used to today coming over and receiving treatment in one state and living in another. And so that becomes another creative framework that we need to work through. The earlier that we're able to engage in this dialogue, the better it will be for patients.
Do you find that with these conditions, there are patient registries, or these patients that easily, if I'm that state budget person or state Medicaid person, do I have a sense of where these patients are, or is that something that would be helpful in kind of finding these patients and being able to quantify their experience today?
Yeah, they may or they may not, and that might be dependent on the disease and how many other priorities, she or he is managing. But working with the individual companies, we have that information. And so we can take what might be perceived to be this big tsunami and be able to help identify collectively who then are the appropriate patients. But in many states, there are places like rare disease advisory councils. They're called RDACs from time to time. And they provide a role for the entire rare disease patient community to have actually quite a strong voice in state government. And it's one of the things I'm most excited about the importance of the voice of the patient has been a pillar of not only development of medicines in rare disease, but we see the FDA's taken a leadership position in hearing that voice of the patient as they go through their deliberations on their review of products. And we believe that it's also important for their voices to be heard, for state policymakers to ensure that their voices are helping shape the policies, because they are going to be the individuals who are going to benefit from them.
And do you have a sense of how long states have to kind of get themselves ready? Is it 2 years or 5 years or 10 years?
Yeah, there are a couple of gene therapies that are already approved here in the marketplace. So from that standpoint, we are not waiting for the first. We are looking forward to products that are in our portfolio. We announced the positive phase 3 results of a trial at the end of last year. And so we expect that we look forward to that being approved and available for patients in the months to come. I can't be more specific on timeline around that, but it wouldn't be like the 2 or 5 year time frame. We're hopefully looking to be able to deliver these breakthroughs in timelines shorter than that.
Oh, that's great. So basically, anybody listening to this or watching this who has a responsibility, they need to already be figuring it out, right? Figure out how to work together to bring these new models and bring these new therapies to market in ways that works for all stakeholders.
It would be a really good goal to have for the second half of this year.
Well, Bert, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I've appreciated getting a better understanding of exactly what we're talking about in terms of the potential, in terms of the road ahead, and hopefully those watching here have taken some valuable insights away in terms of their to-do list. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been great spending some time with you this afternoon. And we will, if we have a chance to talk later, that would be wonderful as well. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you to all of our sponsors, participants, and attendees for such a thoughtful conversation, and for your support of our work at State of Reform.